Saints Row 4 was camp. It was a theater play about gangsters in space, and I love it. I know people are going to come into my comments and tell me how awful this game is, and I will agree with some points because there are some twists and turns with that even I don't agree with, but honestly, Saints Row 4 was a chaotic mess of beauty, the symphony of chaos. Hear me out. Saints Row 4 is this campy, chaotic energy with its own art style, its own aesthetic. It finds a way to infuse two things that, let's be honest, not many would think to infuse: criminals versus aliens. The only other time I ever saw this premise was Attack the Block. Oh, great movie, go see it. But within the story itself, while it's all over the place, it does hold up a solid story, one that is able to connect to the past and combine it into the future. This game allows us something that previous games never did, and that was connecting to its characters while also getting away from its title as a GTA copy. So my question is, was Saints Row 4 bad, or was it just too camp for a video game? So before I go on my rant of how much I love this game, I have to explain the storyline real quick because it's beautiful, but it's stupid. Now, our story begins with our main trio, the boss, Shaundi, and Pierce. The three were asked to help stop the attack. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, straight in. But we have to go to the desert to meet with this woman called Asha. I love Asha. It's a shame we don't have her in more games. So Asha is an MI16 agent, and her job is to stop a man named Cyrus from releasing a nuke onto America. Why is this man trying to destroy an entire continent? Well, he was in the last game. He was an antagonist in the last game, right? His job was to stop the Saints, so he decides in his dumb brain to blow up a statue and frame the Saints for it. Yeah, this man was an idiot. So now he's pissed off because they got away, so he's just like, our country's corrupt. I have to nuke it. Luckily, the boss is able to defeat him, but the nuke goes off. So the boss has to climb onto the nuke and disarm this giant machinery. As he's doing this, and this is one of my favorite parts in the game, everybody is telling the boss how much they love them and how much they care and how awesome they are and how much he changed their lives. And then Asha's over here like, you guys are nice people. I love Asha. Okay, so I love it. Luckily, I'm pretty sure the boss is inhuman, but the boss survives. He's able to disarm the bomb and then drop from it into the White House. It's so stupid. It's beautiful. So the boss becomes the president and Keith David becomes the vice president. Why? Because he's Keith David. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Spawn, Gargoyles, the black cat from Coraline, this man is a legend. Where was I? Oh yeah, so the boss sucks at being the president, truthfully. Because like, while the boss is great as leadership, not leadership for the entire country, you know? And just as the boss is about to address the public over their terrible speech,
words were taken out of context. Kinsey, what's the right context for, and I quote, I'm the patron saint of America. We should probably look into changing the Pledge of Allegiance to one nation under me.
Because they just say the most horrible things. Shaundi comes in and tells the boss, yeah, there are aliens in the world.
Send it up the chain, not fly across an ocean. They said nobody back home believes them. Jesus, what's going on? They think we're about to be attacked by aliens.
And they're invading certain parts of the country. And the boss is like, aliens don't exist. But Shaundi's like, please look into it. And the boss agrees, but it's too late because Zinyak decides to blow a hole in the fucking White House and kidnap everybody, including us. I'm not gonna lie, I do actually like the opening sequence. We're just blowing up a bunch of alien ships and the boss is just saying random stuff. What was one of it? You blew it up!
You blew it up!
You maniacs! You blew it up!
Sorry. Okay, so after we're kidnapped, we're thrown into this 1950s nightmare where we're just this happy-go-lucky. Well, I always play as a woman, so legally marriage to Shaundi. Eventually, she says a curse word and she snaps out of it and she realizes, wait a minute, I'm not home. So after she breaks out of the trance, she's able to get away from the angry crowd that's attacking her. And as soon as she's trying to drive away and figure out what's going on, Kinsey connects to her via her brain, Wi-Fi, alien stuff. So we find out that Kinsey escaped her prison and now she's trying to get the boss out of her prison. And the boss does everything Kinsey says, only for Zinyak to find out what was going on and stop everything that was happening. So Zinyak throws the boss into a Steelport virtual prison.
Where the hell are... Fuck me.
I should have realized a prison of peace would never hold a sociopath like yourself.
I'm more of a puckish rogue.
A rose by any other name.
Are you trying to kill me or sleep with me?
Charming.
See, there you go, those mixed messages again.
Then allow me to be perfectly clear. I am the architect of your reality. I build what I want. I destroy what I want. And your bravado means nothing. Fighting back is pointless, my friend. There's nowhere to run. You belong to me. Now, on to more pleasant things. I'm going to place you in your new home. Try to run again, and I'll destroy your pitiful planet. TTFN.
He also gives the boss a warning. You try to escape again and I'm gonna blow up the earth. And I'm not gonna lie, that shit looked scary as a kid. So while we are here, we learn that we can get powers by disrupting the virtual prison. Apparently all virtual prisons are somewhat connected to the mainframe of the Zinyak ship. And because of this, it is possible to use the virtual reality to get to Zinyak and defeat him. I don't know, it's virtual reality, I guess. So after a while, Kinsey is able to break us out of the Matrix. And we wake up on an alien ship in a sleeping pod. So after we fight our way to freedom, because somehow we're able to breathe within this atmosphere, not gonna question it, Zinyak keeps his word and blows up the planet.
Voicemail?
You want me to leave a message?
Oopsies. Upset, the boss realizes that all the small disturbances she does to the system, she is able to create a link to find Zinyak. So she decides it's time to kill Zinyak and take over the Zinyak population. And I agree, because an eye for an eye. I don't care if it makes the world go blind, as long as you lose. Where was I? All right. So in order to do this, she needs to find her crew. So the first person she gets is the ghost in the shell, Sid. Sid was also a victim of Zinyak's crimes, but his original body died and he was able to transfer his existence into the virtual reality. Because of this, he's able to locate all the other members, and the first person that they locate is Matt Miller. Great. And oh, Matt. He's so cute. Oh, Matt Miller. I'm sorry, I'm into the nerdy guys. So we have to break Matt out of the virtual prison first because he's good at hacking and he's also, well, skilled when it comes to virtual reality. Also, I'm not going to go into a deep dive into each character's prison. I feel like those need to be deeply studied. Therefore, if this video does well, I will actually do some video essays on the characters because I do want to talk a bit about Shaundi, Matt, and Johnny. Maybe perhaps the boss as well. There's a lot to these characters. So after rescuing Matt, the group finds a signal on a plane and the boss believes for some odd reason Johnny's alive. I don't know why Johnny would be alive because he died in the last game, but she believes he's alive. So she goes into this virtual prison only to find out that it's Shaundi's prison. She's reliving the death of Johnny over and over again. And I'm not going to sit here and lie. Shaundi's prison break actually breaks my heart.
Johnny, I let you down. I let us all down. We never should have ran. We should have stayed and fought, but we couldn't because of me. And I know people say it's not my fault, but if the boss didn't have to protect me, you would be standing here right now. I'm so sorry, Johnny.
But again, that needs to be an entire video dedication. So after we save Shandi, we are then teleported to the past and a past event in Saints Row 2 where basically OG Shandi was being held hostage by her ex-boyfriend, Veteran Child. After we defeat him, Shandi rebirths herself and we just grab her and go. We're not even going to focus on this. So after Shandi, we have to go through multiple prisons to get other members, Pierce, Asha, and King. After saving members of our gang, Zinyak decides enough is enough and attacks a simulation. He brings back old gang rivals from the past to fight the boss. And the boss is like, wait a minute, these rival gangs have something to do with Johnny. Because each gang from the past did have a history of Johnny, the boss realizes that maybe Johnny is alive. So the boss makes Kinsey and Matt go find Johnny. And luckily, they did. But we have a little problem. So let's just say that Johnny is a big threat. So much that Zinyak had put extra security on him, meaning that if they hacked into Johnny's virtual prison, Zinyak might find their ship. So, being braver than Kinsey, Matt informs the boss that maybe rescuing Johnny is a bad idea. And the boss loses their shit and beats Matt within an inch of his life. Eventually, though, Kinsey finds her balls again and is able to back Matt up, telling the boss that we are basically risking the last of humanity for someone that half of us haven't even met before, and you're getting mad at us? So the boss, not being 100% a psychopath, apologizes, but still goes on to go rescue Johnny. And in a similar manner to Shandi, Johnny's story is very sad. Johnny had a girlfriend named Aisha who would have gotten killed in Saints Row 2 because of the actions of Johnny. This guilt had been with him for years, so much so that Zinyak had placed him in a torture chamber where he had to watch the love of his life die every day. Eventually, when the boss got in, we are able to break Johnny out of this prison. And again, it's really sad. We are able to save Aisha in this virtual reality, but when we save her, Johnny remembers, you're not real. This isn't real. I need to get out. So we rescue Johnny. And I love Johnny because he proceeds to kill a bunch of Zin. I love his introduction. Let me show you.
Yes.
I love it. I love the knife placement, the glasses. It's beautiful. He's beautiful. I love him. Johnny's like the logo character of the Saints Row series. Like, if you are to take anything out of the entire series, Johnny's existence is one of them. So after getting Johnny back, the gang organizes an attack into the mainframe of the virtual realities, basically using it in order to find Zinyak. However, Zinyak gets word of this and decides to jump the Saints before they can get to him. This assault happens, and this causes the Saints to split up, and this allows Zinyak to kidnap Kinsey.
Dead.
Well, not physically kidnap her, but basically trap her mind within a new virtual prison. One where she cannot get out of because it somehow rewrote her brain and she just can't get out of it. So the boss has to figure out how to save Kinsey, but just as they're about to figure this out, the aliens found their ship and are attacking them, placing bombs everywhere. So Shandi, Johnny, and the boss have to fight the alien attack off. Once they defeat the aliens, they realize that Keith David is nowhere to be found. So it turns out Keith was the traitor. We go back into the virtual reality where Keith is having some sort of speech to the virtual people, and the boss calls him a traitor, and Keith's just like, listen, you blew up Earth, and I gotta give it to Keith, he's not wrong. So the boss chases Keith into a building, and just as she corners him, Zinyak is able to get the jump on her and beat her within an inch of her life. Feeling bad, Keith turns on Zinyak and tries to help the boss, only for Zinyak to capture Keith and throw him into his own nightmare chamber. And this is where one of the best parts of this game comes in. So we are teleported to Keith's nightmare prison. Here, we meet Roddy Piper! Wait a minute, let me put a pin real quick. The way I screamed when they put this man into the game, they got Mr. Piper! Okay, so Mr. Piper here is a wrestler who starred in a movie with Keith David about aliens invading Earth. Or rather, these aliens had already invaded Earth and they were controlling everything and nobody knew about it, so it was these guys' job to find a way to expose the aliens to everybody else. And what I love the most about this movie is that there is a 5-minute beatdown, and I always giggle because Piper's character is trying to convince David's character that there are aliens, and he's just beating the crap out of him while he's explaining it. It's so funny. It's so funny. Rest in peace, Mr. Piper. So after Keith tells us the code to unlock Kinsey's virtual reality, turns out Zinyak had placed her in a prison similar to that of the boss. So she's brainwashed, as said before. And what's worse, she's married to Cyrus, the terrorist from earlier. What? Yes. And the best part about this, she's living in her own nightmare. Let me explain. Kinsey is kind of like a dominating BDSM kind of person who just loves to like whip people and stuff. So Zinyak basically threw her in a prison where all of that is like bad, you know, conservative, long skirts, everything you enjoy is a sin kind of thing. So clearly we gotta break our homegirl out using the dubstep gun. After saving Kinsey, the gang regroups and comes up with a better plan to get to Zinyak. They create a bomb to mess up with the main system. The problem with this bomb is that it only creates a doorway to Zinyak for a short period of time, so the Saints have to break up into groups in order to attack Zinyak. The first group is Johnny, the second group is Asha, and the third group is Shondi and Pierce. You can pick whoever you want, that's how I do it. Okay, after corrupting various points of the system, the gang is able to locate Zinyak's main ship. Flying over, they are ambushed and separated again. Luckily though, the boss finds a power suit. So all the power we got in the virtual reality is now ours. Yee! Sweet! And now it is time for the final fight.
Can't kill me. My people will avenge.
He's running shit now.
It wasn't that hard. And after that, we are then told that Zinyak had a time machine that allowed him to go back and forth in time to gather things that he needs, such as people and items and artifacts and what have you. So now we are told that basically the boss can save Earth using this time machine. The end. Saints Row 4 was camp. It was camp to the fullest. It was showgirls camp for video games, and I loved every second of it. See, I know a lot of people have mixed feelings when it comes to Saints Row 4, and I do agree with some of these mixed feelings because I do understand the point of how did we go from gangsters to being a space overlord? Yeah, that is 100% a valid reason to have mixed feelings. I'm not going to deny. However, I believe the creators made this decision because they didn't want to continue to be known as a GTA copy, and I understand where they were coming from. Like, yes, they were basically the little sister of GTA, but after a while, you want to get out of your sibling's shadow. And I understand why they made this leap. And this is why I feel like Saints Row 4, while it's weird, was the peak of the Saints Row series. It was beautiful. It had a Christmas DLC. It was awesome. And then they made Gat out of Hell. Why did they make Gat out of Hell? I don't know. We all knew he was going to go down there. Why did we need a game for it? But whatever. Long story short, Saints Row 4 was not what destroyed the Saints Row series. Saints Row 4 was a good game, in my opinion. It was its own story, its own theater play, with its own aesthetic. We were able to reach into the deep depths of Shondi and her trauma, while also acknowledging the change of others, such as Matt and King. How these two went from enemies of the boss to being their best allies. How Matt was able to rise up and grow a spine throughout these 2 games. How we had the return of Johnny. We got to understand Pierce's fears around his place within the Saints. How he doesn't feel like he's loved and everything. I gotta do a video on Pierce because I redid his mission and oh, my heart goes out to that man. But this game, with all of its faults, makes up for it with comedy, love, to mention respect for pop culture. There was just so many pop culture references within this game. It was funny. Mr. Piper's appearance, which was great. Again, rest in peace, you beautiful man. It was a fun game. And I'm glad that people are now having more of a appreciation for the game, especially after that god-awful reboot. The fuck was that? I will stand by my words when I say I have no idea what that game was. I don't know why they remade the Saints like that. That was an offense to the Saints because the Saints worked hard to become the Saints. Like, yes, they started as a GTA copy, but they worked hard to have its own name. This group of people, these people, they don't deserve the Saints name. I think by the end of the day, Saints Row 4 deserves its title as just one of those most ridiculous games ever. I also feel like if the creators had just followed this recipe that they had created in Saints Row 4, they would have been perfect. Because I see the exact same formula in another game that I love, which is called Sunset Overdrive. Sunset Overdrive has a lot of similarities to Saints Row 4, from its voice acting to its jokes to even some of its gameplay. It is almost an exact copy. Heck, I would even go as far as to say that Sunset Overdrive, in a way, is the child of Saints Row, similar to how Saints Row is the child of GTA. In my weird little brain. It was perfect. And then the creators didn't know where to go. And then they made Agents of Mayhem. And then Johnny Out of Hell. And then that awful reboot. I miss Saints Row. It was a good game. And I'm glad that we're all finally appreciating it for the gem it was. Thank you so much. I am so honored. Thank you. Please leave a comment, maybe a like, and have a lovely day. Thank you so much again. Bye.